Our next speaker is Ioulia Satsouk. She is in charge of Husky's Immigration Bureau. She is an amazing professional who studied law in Faculty of Barcelona University, member of the Real Estate Association since 2008, real estate and an immigration expert, founder and director of Husky's Immigration Bureau and Husky's Immigration Group based in Barcelona, Spain. Ioulia will focus today with her presentation on the Spanish immigration law, on the investment opportunities, on the residential purchases, and also provide us with more information whether you wish to move your business into Spain or move your families. And Ioulia is going to talk to us about Spain and residence and amazing opportunity that Spain brings us together with Ioulia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Lilia, for the introduction. Thank you, Marina, for a beautiful presentation, which actually I'd like to thank Bosco Conference organizers for having extended the invitation to me to also provide all the all the audience members, partners, and potential clients to get to know more about various options offered by different countries where you can obtain your permanent residence. I live in Barcelona since 1996. That is 26 years. Since 2009, I am into real estate and immigration issues, and I direct Husky's Immigration Bureau. We were faced with new tasks, with crisis that has to be resolved to help our clients in transferring funds, opening up bank accounts in Spain, the processing of transactions, and to help them get the permanent residence. In my presentation, I'm going to draw your attention to the narrow area of how can one acquire real estate in Spain, how to open up a bank account, and where to open it up. And also I will confirm that the immigration program on real estate, via investments in real estate, is still ongoing. It's very active. As you know, since 2012, Spain is using a program allowing to get a permanent the residence by the applicant and family and their family members. But in March 2022, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Spain limited the issuance of golden visas in the consulates of Moscow and St. Petersburg. The golden visa, which is also the name of the program, is just a part. It was limited to the consulates themselves. The law allows the issuance of residence permits to Russians. Investors can both purchase real estate and resell it. Availability of investments in Spain. What is necessary? Real estate from 500,000 euros should be purchased. Now, there are some other options as well, but we will focus in on the investments made in real estate. What should we start from? It's necessary to open up a bank account in a Spanish bank. If you have a Russian foreign passport, you can open an account in only one Spanish bank, which is Bank BBVA. The account can be opened in person or by notarial power of attorney with an apostle, but the bank needs the original foreign passport. When opening an account, the bank will need to provide documents confirming the origin of funds and business activities at the moment. For this purpose, certificates of employment, income tax returns, as well as bank statements from the bank from which transfers will be received will do. In Russia, transfers abroad are carried out by Raiffeisen Bank, which also continues to open new accounts due to the fact that transfers go through several correspondent accounts in order to avoid refunds due to internal rules on correspondent accounts. We recommend to make transfers in amounts up to 49,000 euros, 49,900 euros. Transfers arrive within one business day. Unfortunately, we have had cases when correspondent banks would tell us that the transfer failed. So this is why this amount of 49,900 euros, that is the amount below 50,000 euros, is most. As you know, there's a restriction on the holding in accounts of non-residents amounts up to 100,000 euros. So the question is, how can the amount of the transaction be paid under such conditions if we need to invest at least 500,000 euros? In the past period, several options have emerged. These doable options in the event that the seller wishes to receive payment in another country, such as the Russian Federation. We have had cases when a Russian citizen wanted to sell their real estate, and according to Spanish rules, payment of the transaction amount may take place outside of Spain, including in the Russian Federation, at the time of the notarial transaction. Of course, this includes certain nuances. The seller should be a citizen of the Russian Federation. The buyer should also be a citizen of the Russian Federation. They carry out this transaction in a Russian bank in rubles, and the transaction can be successfully conducted in euros. The second way allows you to work with both the primary and secondary markets, and the second option is based upon a standard way a transaction is usually conducted. In the case of a typical Spanish transaction, the transfer of payment occurs at the time of the notarial transaction by means of certified bank checks. It is this method that helps to prepare bank checks in advance. After signing a reservation agreement or pledge agreement between the seller and the buyer draws a check in the bank up to 100,000 euros, and the buyer's personal account again becomes free for a new transfer until the amount of 100,000 for a new transfer. This continues until the funds have been fully transferred. In some cases, our transaction would last for up to 2 weeks' time. This particular, in our case, the transaction lasted for 2 months because we had to transfer over 1 million euros. The checks are held by the buyer until the notarial transaction takes place, which that makes buyer feel more confident. Have had cases when the entire amount to be transferred would be conveyed and wired before the notarial transaction. But we do not consider this approach as a standard because the buyer doesn't feel very confident in this case. It is also possible to use a notary escrow account to transfer the amount needed to pay for the transaction, but this method requires double compliance, both with the buyer's bank and possible compliance with the notary bank. We should also take into account the fact that the so-called compliance will be imposed not only by the bank used by the client, but also it will be required by the notary bank as well. Residence permit is processed in Spain. At that point, the 100,000 restriction can be lifted because the person becomes a resident of Spain, and so the restriction is lifted. In some cases, this might be useful. In some other cases, this might act as a factor that would delay the transaction. For example, in Barcelona, we have a great influx of people, so the department is considering every case for almost 4 months. And this technique is unfortunately not very effective or efficient. Should we talk about the speed? The most efficient way, that is the most secure and understandable conventional way of transfer. The only difference is that previously we used to issue 1 or 2 checks, whereas right now we have 5 to 10 checks accordingly. And in this particular case, when two Russian citizens would like to settle their accounts approach is very effective. There's also another way to remove the restriction of up to 100,000 euros by obtaining first a residence permit of any EU country, including a study permit in Spain. Spanish real estate is worth investing to become a part of this program. Real estate suitable for the issuance of a residence permit for investors includes practically any real estate, residential, commercial, plots of land purchased from September the 27th, 2013 to date, in full ownership or in partial ownership, even if it is nuda propiedad. The exceptions are in Spain, we use this phrase nuda propiedad. This is a part of the property minus. The exceptions are usufruct, trespasser, and timeshares usage rate. Unfortunately, the government doesn't believe that these options can be used as investment in real estate. They're not considered investments in real estate today. It is possible to invest either directly or as an individual or through shares of a legal entity. In this case, in case of direct investment in the name of a natural or physical person, it is necessary to own any share of real estate. The main condition is a minimum investment amount equal to 500,000 euros for each main applicant. In this way, an investment can be made by several applicants in the same property. We had a case when, for example, the classical case, we ran into this situation, for example, a couple of years ago, a land plot is purchased and then they build a new building on that land plot. So the Spanish administration was considering, only the land plot was considered by the Spanish administration as the investment. Then the case was considered by the Supreme Court of Spain, and fortunately, the administration began to consider the building as the object of investment as well. If a building worth over 500,000 euros was built in a land plot after the purchase of the land, then the administration would consider this as investment. It's a very good program, but it also includes some details like this. Next, together with an investor, a resident permit is for who? Spouse, including civilians, minor children, adult children who are not yet married and are economically dependent on the investor. In real practice, the administration is making parents to get residence permit as dependent persons, just like children. Parents of spouse economically dependent on the investor. Next slide is about the advantages of holding a residence permit for an investor and a relative of the investor. You don't need to apply via the consulate. You can directly apply being in the territory of Spain. The possibility of extending the residence permit even if the applicant did not reside in Spain. If investors reside in Spain permanently, that is staying in Spain for longer than 183 days a year, if they have stayed in Spain for over 183 days, then they become the tax residents. And also number 4, ability to apply for an investor's residence permit in Spain, regardless of how many days the person stayed in Spain. May I ask a question, Ioulia? Can the applicants work only in Spain or throughout all the EU member states? Unfortunately, only in Spain. And if you want to lodge an application, you said that one can visit Spain with a Schengen visa. What if the person doesn't have the Schengen visa? Can they get one from the Spanish consulate and explain that the purpose of visit is to get the residence permit? From the standpoint of allocating Schengen visas, Spanish consulates are working very well, and it takes them only 1 month. Thank you. I'd like to summarize by saying that when considering the results of 2022, following the events that have transpired throughout 2022, we of course were shocked because we had to reinvent the wheel, although we don't know what 2023 has for us in store, but we still have already at the moment we have a certain experience, and I'd like to say that the investment program is active and available for Russian citizens, and there is one bank, Raiffeisen, is also opening up new bank accounts, allowing to transfer money from the Russian Federation. At the moment, you can do everything you want, and the past year has taught us to never delay. My recommendation for 2023 is if you have this kind of an intention, you should go ahead and do it. I always say that you should grab what it is that they are offering you. If you have the desire to go forward, you need to take advantage of this opportunity, because in the future perhaps we will have some other opportunities, as very soon we will have the digital nomads program launched, and after it will have been launched, the conditions will change, whereas at the moment this residence by investment program is still very relevant, and everyone who wants to take advantage of it can take advantage of it, as we still have time to do it. Thank you, Ioulia, very much. Your presentation was very interesting to follow. I think everyone found it very interesting about the about the fact that the residence program of Spain being still alive and active. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lily, very much.